you right now. Because if God ever had a plan for your life, touch your neighbor and tell him the plan is still good. Because whatever God had in store for you, you need to tell somebody it is still a good plan. What happens to most of us is we take our eye off of God and get our eyes on man. But don't you let Laban trick you or deceive you out of your future, because God is still in control. Well, how do you know, preacher? I like this because here he is. He's at a point where it looked like to me, and I'm just going to say it like I need to say it. Here he is. He's disappointed. He's been deceived. He gets together. He's worked, and he comes in. Here's what he said. Hey, I did my 7. Can I have my girl? Can I have my sweet thing, please? My bags are already packed. We're going on our honeymoon. I'm going to head on back to my daddy's house. All I need is Rachel to come go with me. And Laban, doing what Laban does, because trickery is in his genetic makeup, he sets up a party and calls all of the brothers together. You see the party getting set up. They setting it up real good. They got Moscato over there on the right. They got some Jack and Coke over there on the left. They got some Woodford Reserve for you top shelf drinkers. Oh, don't act like you don't know what I'm talking about. They got some red wine for you connoisseurs of Cabernet up in this house. They got everything just like you wanted on that particular night. Thank you, brother, for at least testifying with me. The reality of it is that he done set the party up, but the setup ain't nothing but a setup. I wish I had somebody in here that knows that whenever your enemy is in charge of setting up the party, you about to be set up. You better be careful where you lay your head and who you let buy your drinks. You better be careful, because if you're not watching out, your setup is a setup for a setup. Well, here it is. He done called the party together. All the brothers done gathered around. He get him all full, if you will. And then he starts telling them, go on into your tent. Now, you should have known something was wrong with that, because he sends him in without letting him take her in with him. Said, but I'm going to send her in to you. Well, here he is. He good and full. Don't act like you ain't never been there. He good and full. He was too full. How you know he was too full? Because he didn't know till the morning what he had done last night. I know a lot of y'all can't shout with me, but this is a Friday night sermon. And you know it's been some Friday nights in your life that you didn't know what you did on Friday night. And you start asking folk on Saturday morning, what did I do last night? Don't sit here and look all sanctimonious to me. I got somewhere to preach Sunday. I don't care if y'all don't shout with me. The reality of it is that some of us have hung out too long some nights and didn't know how we got there the next day. Well, here's the text. Text says he was in there. He done laid down. He done got a little comfortable. And then Leah came in the room. Now, the next morning, he wakes up, and what he thought was a good night with Rachel was a bad night with Leah. You understand? Now, whatever he did, I ain't arguing with Leah, because it wasn't until morning that he realized that it wasn't the one he was looking for. Leah must have had something going on. Y'all catch that on the way home. Tell somebody Leah wasn't all bad. But now here the text is, the text said it was morning when he discovered he had been deceived. I like this particular text because he got up with righteous indignation and he said, you have tricked me. What is this you have done to me? He goes back out and he says, you have deceived me. And Laban begins to quote the rules after he set the contract on relationship. He said, I can't give you the younger daughter if the older daughter remains unmarried. He said, do this and go ahead and fulfill her week. He said, but in order to get her, you got to work 7 more years. Oh, that's when the music changed in my life. That's when the music went dun, 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 because all of a sudden I'm about to throw down up in here, because I'm about to lose it with Laban, because I believe I got a chance on taking the old man out. I'm going to tell Laban, no, bro, you ain't going to do me like that. I done came all the way from my daddy's house. I'm young and I'm strong. You going to give me what I came for, or I'm going to take you out. Here is the good news about God, is that even in the midst of your disappointment, he will give you power to hold your peace. Well, Let me see if I can help you with this. God allows you to see the best options in the middle of your worst conditions. God will allow you to hold your peace when you want to reach for your peace. Y'all will catch that on the way home. See, you got about 4 things you can do in this situation. You can either fight, you can flee, you can forfeit what you came for, or you can figure it out. Tell somebody, I ain't gonna fight, I ain't gonna flee, I'm not going to forfeit what I came for, so I ain't got but one choice, and I'm going to figure it out. Do I have anybody in here that's had to sit through some things in your life, and when you didn't have many options on the table, tell somebody, I just had to figure it out. I wasn't going to get up and walk away from my blessing. I wasn't going to put hands on nobody. Sometimes you got to figure it out. What do you mean? That's when you go into prayer mode. Father, I stretch my hand to thee. Tell me what to do right now, because I don't have the strength to know what to do, but you can help me figure it out. What are you talking about, preacher? How you believe he figured it out? How do you believe he figured it out? Well, he figured it out because the next verse said, and Jacob did so. Now, I know y'all reading from the King James, the New King James, and all other versions of scripture. Can I read from the South Memphis Keith Norman version? We got a contract based on relationship. We got a payday based on rules. Now we going to the local funeral home. Because I done took old man Laban out. I said, no, you can't come for me like that. You can't do me like that, bro. You're going to have to come up with something better than that. I didn't come here for your delicate-eyed daughter anyway. I mean, she cute and all that, but that ain't the one I came for. I came for the one that was good of form and appearance. In other words, she was good to look at, coming and going. Y'all will catch that on the way home. Appearance means she was pretty. Form means she was shapely. That means she had a show enough going on. Now, I like what you sent me, but it ain't nothing like what I came for. And when I came for what I came for, tell somebody I ain't going to leave until I get it. I wish I had some saints in here tonight that came for a blessing, and the enemy keep on trying to deceive you. Tell somebody I ain't going to leave until I get what I came for. I feel like praising the Lord right now. Some of us are up in here right now, and you know you need a blessing from the Lord. You better learn how to cry out to God. You better learn how to figure it out. You better say, Father, I stretch my hand to thee. Is there anybody in here that know how to go get what you came for? Here's the text. Here's the text. The enemy, Laban, underestimated Jacob. He underestimated Jacob. Here is what he did. He came up with a bad count. Y'all looking at me strange. To underestimate is an accounting term. To estimate means to look at and to size up without actually handling the contents. You understand, you've walked up to the little jar on your job, and they'll say how many M&Ms are in that jar. And you stand back and estimate, and you write it down. Some of y'all get all happy and stuff, like you real mathematicians. You say, well, the jar is 2 feet wide, it's 4 feet deep, and the circumference is this. And if you multiply that by the size of an M&M, it must be about these many in the jar. Touch your neighbor and say, you don't know. I have a 100% track record of getting that contest right every time. I have never been wrong. I have gotten it right every time. I did not cheat. I did not know how many was in there, but I am smart. So I knew how many M&Ms were in the jar. They switched it up one year and put Oreo cookies in there. I knew how many Oreo cookies were in the jar. They wrote the question, how many are in the jar? I wrote down all of them are in the jar. And I was right every time. Don't underestimate me. I'm smarter than I look. But the enemy underestimated Jacob. He looked at Jacob and decided that Jacob wasn't going to be able to work 7 more years. But tell somebody, if Rachel was ever worth it, then Rachel is worth working for 7 more years. Is there anybody in here tonight that's got some unanswered prayers and some blessings that you're still waiting on? You got some things held up in the layaway. Tell somebody it's still worth praying for. It's still worth waiting for. The enemy has underestimated you. He thought you was going to give up when you didn't get it the first time. Tell somebody I came back to revival the third night. I'm going to show up at church this Sunday. I'm going to keep on shouting anyway. Is there anybody in here that know that whatever you pray for, tell somebody it's still worth praying for. It's still worth working for. It's still worth going after. It's still worth having, because you got some left in you. You got to get up and go get it. Tell your neighbor, don't underestimate me. Don't underestimate me. Can I preach this? To underestimate is to look at and size up and decide that you can look at somebody and tell what they got left in them. The enemy underestimates God's children every day. Every day you wake up, the enemy think he can put something in your pathway that's going to make you stop praising the Lord. He tried that with Job, but he did not get it. He put Daniel on a diet, but Daniel served him anyway. He threw Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego in a fiery furnace, and they just learned how to dance with Jesus. He hung Jesus on a cross, but he forgot it was a third-day resurrection. Do I have anybody in here that know that even when the enemy underestimates you, tell somebody, I got some left in me? Let me go out of here. Watch this text. Here, Jacob fools Laban. He said, okay, show me what you want me to do for the next 7 years. Now, I'm gone by now. I'm messed up by now, Mormon, because now I'm not finna wait for 7 more years. But I need to help somebody in here. 2 Corinthians 2 says, therefore we do not lose heart, even though our outward man is perishing, yet the inward man is being renewed day by day. That's a good shouting point for me right there. It ain't what's on the outside of me that's keeping me going. Tell somebody it's what I got on the inside. Something on the inside holdeth the reins. Is there anybody in here right now? Tell somebody my back hurt a little bit, but my steps are ordered by the Lord. Tell somebody my knee don't always feel good, but I keep on walking with Jesus every day. Tell somebody my head don't feel right, but I keep on keeping my mind stayed on him. Is there anybody in here that's being renewed in the spirit every day? Every day with Jesus is sweeter than the day before. Here's what happens. These momentary and light afflictions are working for us a far more exceeding and eternal weight of glory. In other words, I may look like I'm falling apart on the outside, but don't fool yourself. It's what the Lord's putting on the inside of me that helps me handle what's going on the outside of me. Can I preach this and get on out of your way? There's a few more things in this text that you got to see. Because here it is. Jacob makes a U-turn. He said, give me 7 more. Now I need to help about 10 of y'all in here. The real good shout for me in this text is there right here. When you've done what you thought you could do. And then the assignment is increased. And they add on to you twice as much as you've already done. In other words, they double your 7. And you can still do it. Instead of fretting about the 7 that's up ahead of you. Thank God that the last 7 didn't kill you. I ought to have somebody in here that's still getting up every day. And you got a few more years to go on your job. You thought you were getting ready to get to the finish line. but somebody moved the finish line a little further down the line. But I ought to have somebody in here that's glad that you're still standing and walking toward the line. Do I have anybody in here that thought you was going to have somebody walking with you, but they walked away from you, but you still walking? Do I have anybody in here that got back up from sickness and didn't know how you were going to make it, but tell somebody, I feel all right now. Thanks be unto God, the last 7 didn't destroy me, and the next 7 ain't doing nothing but making me better. Well, I got to ask you a question. I got to get out of here. What makes you so strong? I asked this question of Jacob. I said, Lord, what made Jacob so strong? Because if I'm real with you, I done cut and cussed by now. I got some cousins in here. Put your knife down, Peter. Put yours up, Watt. Mormon, you packing a pistol. Don't act like that, because we keep telling folk what God is able to do. And if you're going to tell somebody what God is able to do, you better be able to demonstrate what God is able to do. Too many of us are walking around telling other folk what God will do for them, but we've never demonstrated what he's done for us. But can I tell you why Jacob was so strong? And I'm going to get out of your way and go and celebrate the goodness of God. It wasn't Jacob's chapter 29 experience that made him so strong. It was his chapter 28 experience that made him so strong. See, when you have had an encounter with the Lord before your trouble shows up, you'll be able to handle your trouble. I ought to have somebody up in here right now that don't mind standing on your feet right now and looking at your neighbor in the eye and telling them, I'm going through right now, but the reason I'm able to handle it right now is because of what I came through already. Is there anybody in here that can celebrate what you came through? Tell somebody, I survived it. I made it. I got up from it. I kept on going. I'm still here by the grace of God. Can I help you in here? Here's what he does. In chapter 28, he has an exposure experience with the Lord. Tell somebody, you ain't gonna be able to handle this if you ain't been walking with him. My oldest son kept asking me why his 12th grade math was so hard. I said, son, you remember them 10th grade classes you cut? He said, Daddy, what that's got to do with anything? I said, if you cut math in the 10th grade, you're going to misunderstand something in the 12th grade. He said, Daddy, that was calculus. This algebra too. I said, but the principles build on one another. Can I help somebody in here? Faith cometh by hearing, and hearing by the word of God. Cometh is a progressive verb. In other words, as long as you keep hearing, faith keep on coming. And so if you hear the word, then faith keep on coming. You might not need it when you hear it, but you're going to run into a problem one day that you already got the faith because you heard the word. Do I have anybody in here? Tell somebody, Sunday school will help you. Bible study will help you. Church will help you. You may not have a problem right now, but keep on living, because when the problems show up, the praise will already be there. Well, here it is. Jacob had an experience and an encounter with the Lord in chapter 28. So when chapter 29 shows up, he's able to handle some stuff. You ever seen some folk that fall apart every time the teenagers little problems show up? That's a little word I use down in South Memphis. I don't know if y'all know it. Little old bit of teenager little old problem. It ain't much of nothing. But when it show up, it wrecked their whole life. And it ain't because they ain't never been through nothing, but it's because they weren't learning as they were going through what they were going through. If you learn in chapter 28, it'll help you in chapter 29. I ought to have some folk in here that's in chapter 28 right now, and you need to get this chapter 28 lesson real good. Here is what Jacob said. He said, surely the Lord is in this place, because he met God in that place. And he said, I'm going to put a stone in this place. I'm going to put an anointing of oil over this stone. He said, and when I get back to this place, I'm going to bless the Lord in this place. I'm going to bring my tithe to this place. I'm going to tell the Lord, thank you in this place. Some of y'all missed a real good shout right there. He already expected to come back to where he was coming from. And he said, this ain't going to destroy me, because God made me a promise back here, and I got to go through this in order to get back to where I am. But here's what you got to do. You got to learn how to persevere. Tell somebody you got to persevere. I'm done. How do you handle chapter 29? First thing you got to do is you got to learn how to pray. You got to have an encounter and experience with the Lord in the place where you are, so it'll help you in the place where you're going. You got to expect to come back from what you're going through. But then you got to have a promise to participate with God when you get back in that place. Good evening, goodbye. May the Lord bless you real good. But some of us will tell God some of the strangest stuff. Lord, if you just get me through this, when you get me through this, oh, I'm going to bless your name. Lord, if you'll just open a door for me, Lord, I'm going to tell everybody how good you've been. But then after the Lord has done everything he said he was going to do, we get in the church, we cross our legs, we sit there like God ain't done nothing. We wear our Alfani suits and our Armani clothes, and we said, don't take all that. But when you were going through, you were running here and there, asking everybody to come see about me. But now that you done made it through, you just kind of sit there and act cool about it. But I need some folk up in here tonight that's got some overdue praise in your life, that God has brought you from a mighty long way. Is there anybody in this place that's got some overdue praise? You ought to stand on your feet tonight. There's somebody he been good to me, better to me than I've been to myself, brought me from a mighty long way, opened doors and made a way. I'll praise him because of his mighty promises in my life. I'm done. I'm out of your way. Stand right where you are. Can I help you? What helps you handle the deception and the disappointment in your chapter 29 of life? It's the encounter and the experience that you had with God before you got to that point. Thank God for visits in the midnight hour. Thank God for moments when your friends didn't tell you where they were going and you stayed at home and read the Bible. Thank God for moments where you had to walk by yourself and commune with the Lord, because it was in that moment that you heard secrets, precious secrets. I come to the garden alone while the dew is still on the roses. He walks with me. He talks with me. He tells me that I am his own. And the joy that we share as we tarry there, can I tell you, none other has ever known. It's in the encounters that you experience with God before you get to the moment of disappointment and distraction that helps you to hold your head up and keep on going. Folk lied to you, lied on you, tricked you, underpaid you, promoted your neighbor that you trained. But God said you can keep on going. Why? Because you got some left in you. Would you take somebody by the hand close to you? I just want to pray with you real quick.